Day. Welcome. I'd like to call the 304th Board of Governors meeting to order. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to have everyone here at the lovely Jekyll Island Inn and Club. It is a wonderful day. Looks like it's going to be a great day. And we had an absolutely excellent dinner last night. Gaki and the staff here at the facility really knocked it out. There are still bugs and whatnot here at the beach, the marsh. But once they went to bed and we continued to have a good time, there was a lot of fellowship, and I thought it was just a really outstanding event. So everybody who participated in that got to enjoy a real treat, and I was glad to have you there. I hope you had as much fun as I did. It has been a busy fall. Our executive committee has been busy. We have had two very robust meetings, including one with the court where we had our joint meeting. And that meeting, we found ourselves up in Macklemore at Cloudland, which, if you don't know, is up in the very northwestern corner of the state. And now we are here on Jekyll Island, which show what a diverse and large state that this body is responsible for. At the risk of butchering it, I'm going to try and retell a story that Justice Ellington commonly tells, where he went in to Judge Andrews when they were on the Court of Appeals together's chamber. They're great colleagues and friends, but they were commonly at odds over their judicial principles. As Justice Ellington likes to say, if Gary was writing an opinion, I was dissenting, and if I was writing an opinion, he was going to dissent. So one day, Justice Ellington walked into Judge Andrews' office and said, Gary, you know what your problem is? You from Chickamauga, and Chickamauga's got more in common with St. Louis, Missouri than St. Mary's, Georgia. Because if you look at a map, Chickamauga is just about as close to St. Louis as it is to St. Mary's, Georgia, which is kind of hard to believe. But I checked it out, and it's true, because Judge Ellington's never been one to let truth get in the way of a good story. So I thought that was a great way to start the year. They've been wonderful meetings. We also had a meeting in Atlanta and partnered up with some local bar associations there. And we have been doing the work to get the governance and the information in front of you. We have really worked to prepare a robust agenda for this meeting, and we have governance issues and various things to you. So thank you for being here. We're excited to have you, and I think we are achieving our goals of connection, communication, and collegiality amongst our members. So a few housekeeping orders. If you're on Zoom, oh wait, you're not. Good help. I can get some booze. Nice. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You're not doing something if you're not a little controversial. All right, this meeting is being live streamed. So as a friendly reminder, it is open to the public, and it's being viewed on a viewing platform, and anybody who wants to watch it can watch it. So whatever you say, they can hear and know about. Number two, only our board members are allowed to vote. So if you have one of these green badges and you're a duly elected member of the Board of Governors, then you are allowed to vote. We have our clickers. We did keep the electronic voting process so that we don't have to go back in a back room and count ballots if we have a contested matter. So we felt like that still brought order. So you have your clicker here. You click one of the buttons. One of them says yes, one of them says A, B, C, D. So we'll have a poll, and we will be able to know that. If you're using a mobile device, which I recommend that since you're here in this room, you get a clicker. Does anybody need one of these? Everybody who can vote, does anybody not have one? Raise your hand. Raise it really high and really proud until somebody brings you a clicker. All right, we got two over here. Got keys circulating around. And Jessica. All right, so if you don't have a clicker, make sure you get one. And that way you don't have to use a mobile device. But if you are using a mobile device, only sign in on one device. And if you're using a clicker, do not use a mobile device. If you need help at any time and you can't figure it out, then raise your hand and call somebody's attention, and we'll help you out. All right, our next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. And we are having two new members of the board present the pledge and the invocation today. Ryan is one of them. He joins us from Houston County, and we're excited to have him with us. So Ryan, if you will, come lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you will, please stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
And next, from the Clayton Circuit, Post 2, Judge Charity Bridgewater is going to deliver our invocation.
Giving the highest honor and glory to our Creator and to the Spirit that surrounds us, strengthens us, and protects us, as we convene today as members of the State Bar of Georgia Board of Governors, fellow lawyers, judges, and colleagues of the bar, and distinguished guests in the pursuit of justice and the advancement of our profession, let us take a moment to pause and reflect. We are united by our commitment to uphold the rule of the law, serve our communities, and support one another in our shared mission. Let us draw inspiration from the principles that guide our work: integrity, compassion, the pursuit of excellence. May our discussions today be marked with respect, professionalism, and collaboration, and may we find the wisdom to navigate the challenges before us with clarity and purpose. Let us acknowledge the responsibilities entrusted to us as leaders in the legal community. Let us approach our discussion this morning with open minds and a dedication to the greater good, ensuring that our decisions reflect the values of justice and equality for all. We send prayers, blessings, well wishes, and positive energy to those who wish they could be here this morning at this meeting but could not be present. We especially send our continued love and support to those within our state and surrounding communities that are still suffering and trying to get their lives back to normal after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. As we move forward, may we be reminded of the impact our work has on the lives of the individuals of the broader community that we serve. Let us strive to be advocates for those who cannot speak for themselves and champions for the ideals that bind us together. I want to take a moment to remind us of the career of the recently retired Court of Appeals Judge M. Yvette Miller, who was the first African-American woman to sit on the Court of Appeals. Her career began in Macon and ended with 25 years dedicated to the service on the appellate bench. She is a trailblazer, and she inspires us all to be trailblazers in our own careers and in service to the legal profession. As the poetess Maya Angelou once said, if you're always trying to be normal, you can never know how amazing you can be. Let's all strive to be amazing. Thank you for your service and commitment. May our meeting today be productive and inspiring. We pray that our Creator protects us and be a fence around us as our journeys back home. Amen.
We will next recognize our special guests. With us today from the appellate courts, from the Supreme Court, we have Justice Sarah Hawkins Warren hiding out in the back, as she does. Also hiding with her is Justice Charlie Bethel. We have Justice John Ellington, who, if you weren't at dinner and you didn't hang around for the putt-putt contest, even though he's not here, you missed a show. Justice Ellington hit 4 or 5 hole-in-ones on this rinky-dinky glow-up-in-the-dark putt-putt device, such that he and Sandra Kate were the grand prize winner of 2 tickets back to the hotel for 2 nights. It felt a little rigged, it did, but it was a moment that merits special mention. And Justice Pinson is also here. Thank you, Justices, for being with us. From the Court of Appeals, we have Judge Ben Land, also there in the back row, and Judge Jeff Watkins, also in the back row. And since he's a past president and also a judge, Ken Hodges was at least sitting more close up to the front here, but he's now disappeared. Oh, there he is. Now he's standing in the back. So thank y'all for being here. We appreciate having you. Our past presidents, yep. Thank you. Our past presidents, Robin Clark is here. Hal Daniel is here. Tony Del Campo is here. Ken Hodge and George Mundy are all here. So thank you to our past presidents. We appreciate your support. Let's give them a round of applause. Our meeting schedule, our next meeting will be our mid-year meeting. It will be at the JW Marriott. It'll be in Savannah. If you have not been to the JW Marriott, it is a real treasure of a hotel. It is on what I like to call the right side of the river. In other words, it's not over there with the Westons, so you don't have to ride the boat or whatever it is to get where you're going. You can just walk up the hill into downtown. It will be a great meeting. Part of the reason the executive committee has met twice is so that we can bring some substantive stuff that we'll have a first read on this meeting, and then we can have our plenary session at that meeting, because there's certain things we can only do twice a year. So we're excited about that meeting. I've been working closely with the meeting staff to plan that. And if you live north of I-20, why would you not want to get out of Atlanta, Metro, wherever in January and head down to Savannah? So we're excited about that meeting. Our March meeting for the Board of Governors will then be in Athens. We're still working on the contract there, so I don't have the hotel. I think we're looking at the Hyatt. And then our annual meeting will be at the Sawgrass Marriott down near Jacksonville at Ponte Vedra. So that should be a great meeting, and we're excited to change it up a little bit from the Omni, go somewhere different. There's still a nice beach location, and we were talking about golf options. So if you're a golfer and you're interested, there's more to come, but that's a great area for golf and the beach, and they have wonderful restaurants next to the hotel. So check out that neighborhood. It will be a good time. Our next item, and you'll also notice that I switched the agenda up a little bit. And for the record, we've already surpassed the amount of time of Buck Rogers' Board of Governors meeting here. So just note it for the record. So we changed up the agenda, so we've got some reports. Oh, what? Oh, roll call. I did skip you. All right. Oh, sorry. Hold on just a second, Javon. So we changed up the agenda a little bit, so we've got some reports and whatnot before. But first, we have the roll call. Madam Secretary, do you want to say anything, or are you just going to hand it out?
I do want to say
Very
something.
good. Thank you, ma'am.
That you all should have the copy of your attendance sheet to sign. If you did not get it, raise your hand so that someone who has one at their location can pass it around. I want to make sure that you all sign this before you leave, and I want to make sure that no one puts it in their stuff when you pack up, because that can mess up a whole lot of people. So please sign in.
Now, make sure you sign the roll, and then if you wind up, if you're the last person holding the roll, you have been promoted to a special position of trust, and that is to return the roll to everybody else, so that to us, so that we can have it. And so if you'll return it down here to the front to Sarah and Jennifer, where the bar staff are, that would be very helpful. And thank you for that reminder. Next, we have the solace report from Honorable Rendell Hurd, who's the committee co-chair. Thank you.
Thank you, President Cagle. I have the honor and privilege of being the co-chair, along with Catherine Perry, of the most enigmatic committee on the State Bar, which is the Solace Committee. I say that because people see that an acronym and have no idea exactly what we do, and so that's why we like to take the opportunity to tell you guys every chance we get how we can help the lawyers in this state. In summation, or in short, the Solace Committee is a networking committee. We are lawyers helping lawyers and legal staff and court personnel and anybody connected to the legal community. We do only in-kind support, but we try to connect lawyers who have specific needs, or their staff who has specific needs, with someone else in the legal community, or who may be able to meet that need. Generally what happens is we receive a Solace request. Someone will call the state bar and say, we've done all kinds of things in the past, but one of the most somewhat famous ones is at one point we had a lawyer who had a child who was in Greece and was unable to get back home because the child had an illness that would not let him fly commercially. The Solace Committee received a call. Hey, anybody in the legal community might be able to help with this. We then reached out to different areas of the state requesting someone to assist. We actually had a lawyer who was a pilot and had a plane and flew over there, picked up the child and his family, and flew them back here. That's the sort of things that we do. And typically, these things are spaced out. We have requests throughout the year. They'll come into us, and the leadership will vet them to see if they qualify for Solace. And then we'll reach out to different areas of the state that may be the closest to the request. This year was a little different, however. And this is why we're here today, because we've never had a situation where almost every lawyer in the area was themselves affected. And so as you can imagine, Solace went to Super Solace Committee this year, and we've got a short video that we want you to see about sort of how that transpired and how the Solace Committee jumped into action during the hurricane season this time.
Express my deep gratitude to the Solace Committee and the members of the PAR that activated swiftly to send resources and supplies to Augusta after Hurricane Helene. In our time of need, the PAR responded, and it truly made a difference in our legal community and the community at large. We had no power, limited access to food, and at times no access to running water. Thousands of trees have been uprooted by the storm, taking out power lines and utilities. Some of our members suffered significant damage to their homes. Personally, I went without power for over 7 days, and at times no access to running water. Internet connectivity is still an issue here for us in Augusta, as they're not trying to just fix some wires. They're literally having to rebuild
Thanks to Judge Heath for agreeing to provide that message. As you see, the Solace Committee and the bar members are generous members. One thing we did find out through this tragedy was that Solace needs a more formal networking system. Because we need to have an answer to what we're going to do if all the lawyers in an area, or literally all the lawyers in an area, are affected by something of this nature. But we do any number of requests. We've helped people find doctors or physicians in certain areas. We've helped people get chairs for their offices for handicapped people. We've done any number of things. We're going to be calling on our Board of Governors members in the incoming year to assist us with strengthening our network. And we hope that each of you will be glad to participate in that. I do need to say before I go that the real work of this committee is done by Carlise Greer and Kendall Harville. They are our liaison and staff, and we could not operate and would not exist without their help. They worked tirelessly, especially during this particular tragedy, and I would like to thank them personally. This time, Carlise is in the back. I don't know if Kendall's here, but each of them, Carlise, I thank you very much for everything that you guys do. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Judge Hurd. That was well received, and I'm grateful for your tireless work on behalf of that committee. I'm also grateful to the past presidents. I know that Robin Fraser Clark had a lot to do with Solace getting started up, and that was a passion project for her. And also thank you to Susan Coppage and Georgia Legal Services for stepping into that. I'll talk more about that during my president's report. Next, we are going to hear from President Mitchell and hear about the great work that the young lawyers are doing. Take these out of your way.
All right, greetings, everybody. My name is Kenneth Mitchell. I'm the YLD president for this year. I'm here to report that the YLD is in great shape. We have a lot of participation and activities from most of our sections and committees. We did have our general session yesterday where the YLD was able to meet, do our business. We also had a CLE yesterday with social media, about social media smarts. One of my goals was to make sure that we encourage lawyers to focus on developing their brand. We have a lot of young lawyers who may have their own firms or starting to develop their practice. So I wanted to make it a point to have CLEs that are geared more towards professionalism and ethics, in addition to other practice areas. And again, we wanted to make service a priority, so we did have a opportunity for people to donate cleaning supplies to Hand in Hand of Glenn. I don't know if anybody was able to see those messages go out, but we want to continue as the service arm of the bar. And so to let you all know, Hand in Hand of Glenn is a group of 60 tiny homes for people experiencing chronic homelessness. And so they asked for us to donate cleaning supplies to help those in need. Lastly, I want to remind everybody to please encourage any young lawyers that you know, you work with, you're friends with, family with, to participate with the YLD. A lot of us do not realize we're automatically members of the YLD. They don't have to do anything, they just have to sign up for a committee. So I hear a lot of people say, I didn't join YLD when I was a younger lawyer. You were a YLD member. I want to repeat, you were a YLD member, and any young lawyer you know is a YLD member. So we have a lot of committees. We need them. We need their time, their talent, and their treasure. And so with that being said, I thank everybody for your time, and the YLD, again, is in great shape.
Thank you, Kenneth. We had 50 YLD members here for their fall meeting, and I just am grateful to Kenneth for partnering on programming and the energy at last night's event and yesterday that they bring, and I see some of them here, and so I think it's awesome that there's a lot more integration of the Board of Governors and the YLD and people sharing ideas and meeting each other, even if y'all did rig the putt-putt thing for Justice Ellington last night. There he is. Okay, next we have the treasurer's report from Mr. Treasurer Gentry.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. So I would say, since this is the treasurer's report, if you need to go to the restroom, get a cup of coffee, get more food, perfect time to do that. Well, like Kent said, the financial state of the bar is good. We have completed the audit and the budget for the 23-24 fiscal year. You will find it all laid out in excruciating detail at pages 17 through 73 of the board book. This information is final, and pages 17 through 24 explain any budget variances over $1,000. The highlights of the year ending on June 30th of 2024, we had budgeted a loss of $564,000, but we actually realized a gain of $544,000, a swing of about $1.1 million. This difference results from effective management and resource optimization, savings realized across salaries and personnel, certain reimbursable expenses, reduced bond premiums, the Bar Journal, certain committee expenses, subscription in books, and shared office expenses. In addition, high interest rates, on our investment portfolio. To sound like an accountant or a lawyer, prior year results here are not indicative of future performance or impact. These savings are offset by increased expenses with software licenses, state disciplinary board panels, website maintenance costs, website redesign costs, and additional costs associated with the new membership database. I'm not going to go into that, but it's pretty cool if you hadn't been on the website recently. Many of these expenses are unique and had been anticipated and budgeted. As to the Bar Center itself, there was an actual loss of about $140,000, which was about $100,000 more than we'd budgeted. This was the result primarily of additional building rehab expenses, which were greater than the increase in revenue. So looking at the 24-25 fiscal year to date, let's see, financials for the first 3 months, which is the third quarter of 24 completed, no items of note, and they're tracking as expected. We did have a fascinating audit committee meeting the other day at which the budget for, or the finances for the 23-24 year were reviewed. No changes to the financial statements, no management letter concerns. As to the June 30th, 2024, as of that date, we had about 50,200 active and inactive members combined. But finally, I want to acknowledge your generous contributions to the Legislative Fund and Georgia Legal Services. Both of these were in excess of previous year's donations. Give yourselves a hand for that. And finally, let me say, we have changed. The treasurers used to have to go to the Bar Center to sign all these checks. There's a software now. I log in, and so I make all these payments online. But it's fascinating to see how your dues money's being spent. So if you have any questions, feel free to come ask me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your thorough report. Appreciate the work that Ron is ably leading our group and keeping an eye on the finances. And Martin, do you have any questions? Martin, does he have any?
$500,000 more in surplus cash, right? That's what I heard.
Ron?
It is, but stand by, Mark.
Yeah, so we have a program. We have a very old, big building, and we could just go plunk down probably about $4 million to upgrade the plumbing if you want us to, Martin. But we continue to be focused on the cash that is unallocated, and I have met with Ron and with Damon, and they have a real nice spreadsheet that forecasts things out. that show where and how we can spend that money pretty quickly. And so, more to come on that. We'll probably have an update at the fall meeting, and we're continuing to work through that on the executive committee level. So thank you for the conciseness of your comment, Mark. Next, we have a poll, so that we have to test the machinery. All right, so the poll is, what is your favorite season? That's a fair question. And you can vote. It's unlocked. Yep. Everybody vote. Fall is the only acceptable. Have I moved sufficiently? All right. So A is spring, B is summer, C is fall, D is winter, and E is, how would I know? Does Georgia even have all 4 seasons? I guess that's kind of, yep. How many we got? Let it go. So C, fall, is the winner at 40 votes. It's a pretty mixed bag. Very good. All right, next we have the minutes of the 302nd and 303rd meetings of the Board of Governors that were held on June 7th and 8th. Madam Secretary, if you will present the minutes. Oh, gosh. All right.
The minutes are found in your board book at page 74, that reflect the 302nd meeting at the annual meeting led by President at the time, Tony Del Campo, and the 303rd minutes that were for the meeting that was led by Ivy Cagle in his first meeting of his term. Are there any additions, corrections that need to be noted or made? Seeing none, Mr. President, if you would like to call for the vote. I know, is David here?
No comments. We appreciate it. David's good. The minutes are good. Nonetheless, Robert's Rules of Order and my parliamentarian requirement, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second? Okay, if you'll post the poll, please, ma'am. All right, this one is, do you approve of the minutes of the 302nd and 303rd meetings of the Georgia Bar of Governors as presented? And a reminder, only Board of Governors members vote. A is yes, I approve. B is no, I do not approve. And the poll is open, so please vote. And when we get to about 90, we will call the poll. 90, okay. All right, we had 3 no votes, so we appreciate y'all testing out the system to make sure it works. Next, we have some proposed rules and sections bylaws that Deputy General Counsel William Bill Neesmith will bring to us. If you'd like to see them as he walks up, they're going to be on page 84 of your board book.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And if everybody looked at page 84, the first thing that we've got, all of these are, this particular rule change is just sort of a cleanup. This is Rule 10-106, eligible claims. This comes from the Client Security Fund, and the trustees asked for this particular change, but just to give some clarity to where the way that it was previously written, it looked like possibly if somebody had not had a final disposition from the court resulting in indefinite suspension or disbarment, that there would not be an opportunity to be able to pay a claim. And so we have, of course, we have some lawyers that before anything like that can happen, maybe they pass away or you can't find them. So that's all this is. It's just sort of a cleanup, and it just sets the, or makes it just where it's just easier for the trustees to be able to do their job when we have a lawyer that has not been disciplined by the court. And so that's really all it is.
Thank you. Does anybody, do I have a motion to approve Rule 10-106 as it's presented? Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you'll open the poll and raise the question. Oh, are you? All right. If you will, so the poll, is it open? The poll is open, so please vote, and if you can't see it, it's do you approve the changes to Rule 10-106 eligible claims as presented? A, to approve, and B, to not approve. Okay. Please post the poll. Okay, and 86, or is it 90, yeah, 86 have approved and 4 have voted no, so that passes. All right, and then the next matter, Mr. Neesmith, is the antitrust section bylaws.
Yeah, the section bylaws, you can start looking at those that begin at page 91. I get asked this question a good bit, so I'll go ahead and just fill you all in. The Board of Governors approves all bylaws for all committees. The only bylaws that the Board of Governors does not approve, as only the Board of Governors, are bylaws to the State Bar of Georgia. Changes to the State Bar of Georgia bylaws. They have to be approved in a plenary session, which is mid-year and annual. But these are section bylaws, and so this body has approved model bylaws that sections are supposed to follow as closely as they can. They're allowed some deviations. And all 4 of these, and we'll have to do one at a time, but all 4 of these do meet the model bylaws passed by the Board of Governors. So they are before you, and these are just cleanups. Like I've told some people, we've been looking at these bylaws, trying to improve them as we go along. Some of them, no kidding, really were typed on a Selectric. They're that old.
Okay, and so the first one is we're gonna do them one at a time, and if you wanna read them, they're all in there, but I think we'll just go, and if somebody has questions, we'll pause for questions, just as a matter of the order. So the first one that we are going to look at are the alternative dispute resolution bylaws. And so do I have a motion to approve the alternative dispute resolution sections bylaws? Do I have a second? Okay, and this is an amendment for clarity. All right, and so let's open the poll and post the question. And the question again is, do you approve the amendments to the alternative dispute resolution section bylaws as presented? A, yes, you approve, or B, you do not approve. '83. 7 of y'all aren't voting. All right. 88. Yep. All right. Let's post it. Okay. So that passes with 86 people voting in favor of it. The next one are the antitrust section bylaws. They're on page 99 of your board book. Do I have a motion to approve the antitrust section bylaws? Do I have a second? Okay. Or is there any discussion or any questions for the antitrust section? Hearing none, we will post the poll, open the voting. So you can now vote. Please vote. Vote A, yes, I approve the amendments to the antitrust section bylaws, or B, I do not approve. Please vote now. Okay. All right, we have 90 votes. We're going to close the poll and we're going to publish the results. We have 85 who approve, and so that one passes. The next one are the real property law section bylaws amendments, and we will go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the real property law sections bylaws as amended. Do I have a second? All right. Hearing a second, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will post the poll and open the voting. Did I skip one?
You did.
Well, did I skip one, or did I skipped one? All right, my bad. I see what I did there. Hold on, we'll just do this one. we're gonna table the voting for the real property law section. We'll go to the franchise distribution section. Do I have a motion to approve the franchise and distribution section bylaws, which is new? Hold on. What? Okay, sorry. You ready for me? All right. So franchise and distribution section. Second, any discussion? Please publish the poll. All right. Do you approve the franchise and distribution section bylaws? A is yes, B is no. A is yes, B is no. Please vote now. All right, please publish the poll. We have 85 that those bylaws are passed for the franchise and distribution section. Now to the real property law section bylaws. Do I have a motion to approve the real property section bylaws? Just to make sure we're clear. Second? All right, any discussion? Hearing none, we will open the voting for the real property law section bylaws. A is to approve, B is to not approve. Please vote now whether or not you approve the amendments to the real property law section bylaws as presented. A is to approve, B is to not approve. Please vote now. You get mid-80s, we're probably good. All right. 82 have voted to approve. We lost some folks. You know, got to get quicker on the trigger. All right, so the next one has to do with the Center for Lawyer Wellbeing bylaws. Is there a motion to approve the Center for Wellbeing bylaws as amended?
Let's get the slide up so they can see what it is.
Oh, all right.
Okay, the reason that you're seeing this way is this kind of came up at the last minute after the board book had already been published. And what we did is we noticed that where it's talking about membership fees, it has at the annual meeting of the Board of Governors. We want to strike that out of there just so that they can come to the Board of Governors for approval at any of the Board of Governors meetings. So that way that if the Center for Wellbeing, Lawyer Wellbeing, had a need to make a change, like in July, they'd have to wait a year to come back. So that's all this is just to take the annual meeting of the Board of Governors out so they can come to any of the 4 meetings and ask you for a change.
All right, do we have a motion to approve this as presented? Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will open the voting. And the voting is open, so you can press A to approve, B to not approve, and the question is whether or not you approve the amendment to the Center for Lawyer Wellbeing bylaws, Article 4, Section 2, membership fees, how established as presented. A is to approve, B is to not approve, and she's nodding her head, so we will publish the poll. We have 85 vote yes. We got back to 90 that time, very good. So we have 85 voted yes, and so that is approved. The next item for your consideration, thank you. Are you?
No, I'm done. That's
Okay.
it. Thank you. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, there you go. That was a timely Go Dogs because we have appointments to the Commission on Continuing Lawyer Competency, whereupon we reappoint one good dog, Paul Painter III, and then we're forced to consider the appointment of a gator, Sally Akins. This will be, let the record reflect, this will be the only support a gator gets from me all day. So do I have a motion to reappoint Paul Painter and to appoint past President Sally Akins to the Commission on Continuing Lawyer Competency? Do I have a second? All right, all in favor? We will put the poll up. I was going to go aye. Yep, all right. Voting is open. The poll is coming up. So you'll push A to approve and B to disapprove. If it was 2 gators, I could understand, but we got a mixed bag here. So A is to approve and B is to vote no. All right, we got it. So we will publish the poll and close the voting. And that passed overwhelmingly, so congratulations to Paul and Sally. Next, we have our Advisory Committee on Legislation. We have two legislative proposals that are before us, and our able and long-serving, some would say suffering, lobbyists, Rusty Sewell and Mark Middleton, are coming up here to present to us. We're excited about the upcoming legislative session. One never knows what it's going to hold. So, thank you, Rusty.
You do never know what the legislative session's gonna hold, but the good thing is, we're not Washington. So, we've got two bills to consider that ACL approved. One, is a funding issue with regard to the Committee to Promote Inclusion in the Profession. This is the domestic violence money that goes into the budget. Right now, there's $3 million in there. This is something that basically the bar started back when Linda Klein was president. It was one of her initiatives, and we created it. The money got in there. The committee would like to support adding to that another $100,000, which we will try to do if y'all support this. So this is the domestic violence funds, and if y'all would like to do that, I guess we'll take a Keller, and you got to stand back real quick.
I like it. Well, it's easy to support funds to help victims of domestic violence. So, is there a motion to approve the ACL proposal entitled, oh yeah, Keller, that's right. First, the question is, y'all recall, we are mandatory state bar, and so we have to consider our legislative program in light of its germaneness to the practice of law. And so the first question is whether or not is ACL proposal support for the committee to promote inclusion in the profession's budget request for fiscal year 2026, funding for legal services grants for victims of domestic violence as presented, germane to the scope and purposes of the bar. We will open that poll. So this is what we call our Keller vote. And you can vote A, you agree that the proposal is germane, and you can vote B, it is not germane. If you will vote now, the poll is open. A is for yes, B is for no. There we go. Okay, we have sufficient votes, so 76 believe it is germane, and 11 believe it is not. Therefore, we will proceed to ask this body the question, do you approve the Advisory Committee on Legislation's proposal support for the Committee to Promote Inclusion in the Profession's budget request for fiscal year 2026, funding for legal service or civil legal service grants for victims of domestic violence as presented? So this is, do you approve it or not? And we will open the poll and post the question. And again, A, we've been consistent with this. I'd hate to see what happened if we mix this up. It would confuse me probably more than confuse you. So A is to approve, and B is to not approve. A is to approve, B is to not approve. The poll is open. Please vote now. 82. Everybody's, y'all getting tired already? Okay. We'll close the poll. I think we've got sufficient votes. Post the, yep, all right, good. 78 voted yes, so that passes. All right, what's our next proposal, Rusty?
Our next proposal is last year, at this meeting, y'all approved the fiduciary sections bill to basically update the wills and estates and all that. We do this, every 4 or 5 years in different sections and all like that. They brought up a bill which is about 110 pages long, and we started in the session with it, and then we realized there were some technical things that we needed to do, and because of the size of the bill, the section came to us and said, can we just hold up on that bill till this year? So now they brought it back, they've, corrected everything. Since we've got plenty of time, I thought I'd read the 116 pages, which we'll get to about the third quarter of the football game, but, and I'd be probably dead by then anyway. But anyway, what they've done, the fiduciary section's always been very good. As long as I've been doing this, having a committee that goes through and updates this, and nobody else wants to do it but fiduciary lawyers. And but this is their proposal, very, very similar to last year that y'all brought, just had some more technical corrections that they had done.
Okay, and thanks to the fiduciary law section, they do a good job. They're a bunch of thoughtful folks who are trying to make this area of practice of law more consistent and streamlined. So the first question is our Keller vote. So that is the Advisory Committee on Legislation's proposal amendments to Title 53 and related code sections as presented germane to the scope and purposes of the bar. We will post the poll, and you may vote A for yes, B for no, or do I have a motion? Sorry, I'm just trying to get there, y'all. Motion, second, discussion, predictable. All right. All right, A for yes, I agree, and B for no. All right, we'll publish the poll. Very good. It is found by 83 votes to 4 people who continue. I wonder if it's the same 4 people. Do y'all wonder that? So the polling machine works, though. All right, so we voted that it is germane. Do I have a motion to approve the proposal amendments to Title III and related code sections as presented? Do I have a second? All right, properly motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll open the poll. This is the ultimate approval. We've already voted that it is germane, so this is yes, you approve for A, B, you do not approve. A to approve, B to disapprove. Poll is open, vote now. All right, let's do it. All right, so we're still 4 people. 82 approve and 4 disapprove. I'm getting suspicious. Anything else, Rusty?
All right, no more bills. Mark's gonna come up and talk a little bit about what's gonna happen in the session. He's gonna, guide us through everything that is involved. But first, as he's coming up, I meant to do this when I first got up here. Jennifer, if you will stand, hopefully most of y'all met Jennifer McNeely last night. She is taking Christine's place, and Mark and I and Roy are very, very excited about that. And Megan Jones is probably more excited than any of us.
Let's give Jen a warm welcome.
But, right. Thank you, Jennifer. All right.
Well, good morning. I'm going to give a quick political report, and as you all know, Rusty and I look at the political aspect of this through the lens of trying to figure out, who's going to be at the Capitol in January and who we'll be dealing with to push this agenda along. So, unless the president polls the presidential race up on the board, I'm not going to comment on the national race or anything like that. In a lot of ways, and in the absence of statewide races, our focus has been solely on the legislative races. As you all know, both our House and Senate stand for re-election every 2 years. So there's 56 senators, 180 House members. And as per usual, about a third of them, a little over a third, were completely unopposed. Of the ones that were opposed, a lot of the more potentially competitive races were taken care of back in the primary. From a state bar standpoint, we were very happy that friends like Representative Mary Margaret Oliver from Decatur and House Judiciary Chair Stan Gunter prevailed in their primary races and will be returning to the legislature, serve their constituents, and they're of great help and to the bar. As we look at Tuesday, there are a fair number of really competitive races in the state House of Representatives. There's anywhere from 6 to 12 races, primarily in the metro area, that involve mainly Republican incumbents who were challenged by Democratic candidates who are hoping for a surge from the top of the ticket. And then there's 2 or 3 Democratic incumbents, mainly in the North Atlanta, Gwinnett County area, who have some competitive races as well. So, you know, the way redistricting works is those districts tend to get gerrymandered in such a way that there's not a lot of competition in the general election, but this is an exception to that. So as we watch the returns coming back, hopefully on Tuesday night, we'll be looking to see how those races shake out. We think, you know, regardless of how those 6 or 12 races turn out, we'll be dealing primarily with the folks that we've been dealing with. We'll pick up where we left off. So over in the Senate, we'll be dealing with lawyers like John Kennedy, who's the president pro tem, Chairman Brian Strickland, Elena Parent, Harold Jones from Augusta, some really good lawyers in the Senate that have been very helpful to the bar and have provided a lot of great support over the years. On the House, very similarly, you know, Speaker Burns is expected to return, and he has some lawyers in his executive or in his leadership group, Chuck F. Strachan, who's the majority leaders from Gwinnett County, and others in the leadership. So when we get back in January, I think we'll pick up where we left off with dealing with a lot of the same folks. If anybody has any questions about any specific races, I'll be here for a little bit in the back, and just let me know if you have any questions. And Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well. Thank you.
Any questions, Mark, Rusty? I just want to personally thank both of you for your long-standing service to the bar. Y'all both do a great job representing our interests, so thank you. We appreciate it and look forward to hopefully an unexciting session as it concerns us. Exactly. Yeah, thank y'all. And Jen, we're excited to have you. Jen comes to us from Delta Airlines, so she's a real catch and has deep contacts and experience in lobbying and understands the bar. So we're excited to have you. Welcome. All right, next is my president's report. We've gotten off to a busy start this year. There are several initiatives. We've had a hurricane. It's just a lot. So we want to thank everybody for being here. I wanted to make sure that we had a substantive meeting. We've got a couple more things to vote on coming up here shortly, but you'll hear from Damon and I. The transition for the Office of General Counsel continues to be a success. Russ Willard is in-house, so to speak, and he has been there, I believe, since July. And Paula is to be commended as usual, and it comes as no great surprise to anyone as she continues her victory tour. That she is doing a great job of onboarding him and helping him understand the nuances of the state bar. So thank you to Paula. Paula did have a little bit of a beef with me last night. She said that when we started talking about this at the annual meeting that people thought she had retired already. So I want to be clear. Paula Frederick is the general counsel for the State Bar of Georgia until January 31st of 2025, which is several months away. So we're grateful to you. It is often difficult for people to imagine the next steps of their lives, which causes them to then leave abruptly, and you should be commended for the job of planning and allowing us to transition that you have done. So thank you, Paula. We're going to clap for you again. Very good. All right, your last fall meeting, hurrah. All right, thank you, Paula. So that has been a fun project. We have reinvigorated the client solicitation committee, Brian Adams and Darrell Champion, who are both law school classmates of mine. Be careful when you call your law school classmates. They might wind up president of the state bar and they might point you to something. But they have a lot of passion for client solicitation, unauthorized practice of law by runners and bringing clients. Edward McAfee, I see, is here. He's been very active in that committee. They've formed 4 subcommittees, and so they're going to then independently work in different subcommittees to do things like document the harm to the public. That's kind of one subcommittee, and another one is working with the solicitors. If you're not licensed to practice law, we don't actually govern you, and so we need the help of local government solicitors to actually prosecute the crime of the unlicensed practice of law. And I know there's a lot of frustration because the bar, quote, can't do anything about it, but we're here to regulate lawyers to protect the public. We can't regulate people who aren't licensed. We can't take your license away if you don't have one. And so it's a lot easier to prosecute a DUI than it is to go do some sting operation on some runner. And so there's it's just an uphill battle there. And so we're working on that, and I want to commend Darrell Champion, Brian Adams, and the members of that committee who are working for it to get it done. We remain focused on, as we talked about earlier, on the cash, and we are going to talk more about that at a future meeting. You may have seen it, but on, I think yesterday, Thursday, or the court came out, or it was Wednesday, the Supreme Court Chief Justice Boggs issued an order where the Supreme Court has created a committee to study the potential reform of the regulation of the practice of law. And if you read Justice Boggs' order there, the idea is that we have a lot of people in our state in rural areas and metro areas whose needs are not being met by lawyers. And those needs are not being met by lawyers really for a couple reasons. One, they may not be able to afford to hire a lawyer, but it's also work that most lawyers don't want to do. And so the question is can you look at how the practice of law is regulated and find a way to connect some sort of legal services that is regulated, that protects the public, and is kind of bridging that gap as I see it. I had 5 appointments to that committee, and I chose people who are in the sections where this commonly shows up. So we're talking family law, probate / estate and trust and wills, and you're also looking at some of the plaintiff's law. So Cherish De La Cruz, Thua Barley, who is here back in the back, or I saw him a minute ago, Thomas Lindsay, Jeremy Abernathy, and Kevin Patrick, who's a member of our Board of Governors, were my appointments to that committee. The committee is going to be led by Justice McMillan and Judge Dillard. This has been looked at in other states, so we're not first, but we're not last. And so the study committee is going to look at it, and I believe their deadline for something is to look at it over the course of this year, and then it would come back up the next bar year. So if you have an interest in that, let us know, and we'll kind of plug you in with the committee members. And the order is out there on the court's website. It's worth a read. I think this is an important issue, and it's worthy of your attention. And we'll continue to talk about it to the extent it involves our business through the rest of the year. But ultimately, that is a committee of the court, and this is a court-initiated project, and we're happy to partner with them on that. We've also got a big thanks to past President Darrell Sutton, who has volunteered to come back and be the chair of the Committee on Artificial Intelligence and Technology. I have written some emails now using Copilot, which is on my phone, and it's fascinating. You can say, hey, Copilot, could you write a nice email back to this person and tell them in no way, shape, or form do I think that's a good idea. And Copilot will do it. It is fascinating, and it types a lot faster than I do. And so there are other generative AI products out there. I highly recommend that if you haven't played with it, just go ask it, ChatGTP, can you list the top 10 things to do on Jekyll Island? And by God, in that much time, it will tell you. It is, and you can ask for websites, addresses, get whatever you want. It will kind of cook it up and serve it. When it comes, it does that stuff really well. When it comes to, can you tell me the latest status of the case law on the statute of limitations for a slip and fall? Yeah, it gets more interesting. And it certainly can't write an intricate client email giving a recommendation well. And so this also kind of plays into the unlicensed practice of law, and it comes into how lawyers are going to use AI to protect client confidentiality. It really touches on what feels like nearly every disciplinary rule that we have. So I'm really grateful that we have, and people who are in the AI space are innovators, right? And innovators are loath to stay on target. I don't know, because maybe I try to be one anyway. And so it's awesome because we've got some really smart, engaged people in AI on that committee. And then we've got some great staff who understand the bar rules. And then we have Daryl Sutton, a past president, who kind of understands what we need to do. But they're going to look at our rules, and they're going to come back and, you know, give us some recommendations on whether or not our rules need updating. Or maybe they'll tell us our rules are just fine. But it's something that's a special committee. It's something that I hope President Twyman, when he's president, will carry on, because I think it's an important issue that is, you know, I didn't know what generative AI was 10 years ago. We don't even know what we're going to have in 10 years from now. And so it's something that I think is important to monitor and pay attention to. Those are some of the big things that we've been doing inside the bar. Outside of the bar, Hurricane Helene's impacts were tremendous. As someone who's native to Swainsboro and got to go home and run a chainsaw so we could use the front door of our house, it struck especially close to home. We have a convenience store that feels like it's about a quarter mile up the road, and I had to get people to move out of the way so I could get into the driveway, because that's how far away they were waiting from gas. There are other areas that are even harder hit. I was talking to one of our board members yesterday who was dealing with a court in an unaffected area, who told him that he needed to have his response for a motion for summary judgment filed yesterday, and that he needed to be in court for a hearing on that on Tuesday. And this is a jurisdiction where the lights never went out and their internet still goes on, and this person just got internet yesterday, a couple days ago. And so that made me especially proud of the work that we did with the court and the court's Chief Justice Boggs and the court's ability to react quickly and to tailor a solution that basically gave you a 30-day stay if you were willing, if you were able to truthfully enter an affidavit that your work as an attorney or litigant had been delayed because of the effects of Hurricane Helene. We also were able to partner with Georgia Legal Services, so thanks again, Susan, and I think we trained over 400 lawyers. And so those lawyers are now equipped to help people in need with pro bono legal services, and as you know, the scammers and the fake contractors and whatever that come through in a big fancy truck just looking for a check are preying on these areas. And so having that is an especially great resource. I was really proud of our membership. The fact we had 400 members shows that our members are dedicated to serving the public, and this has been a true disaster from all the way from South Georgia through Augusta into South Carolina. So it required a significant collaborative approach, and I feel like that has happened. I was talking to one of the justices recently, and I understand that the court does not plan to extend its order. So just that's the unofficial word on the street, but just so you know, if you have an issue, make sure you go read the order, get your affidavit on record, comply with the order, and it's not likely that another one is forthcoming. That is my president's report for today. I'm excited to have you all here. The room is full. If you look around, if you're sitting up front, take a minute and look towards the back. We have a lot of great people here, and this is the kind of collaboration and connection that I was looking forward to this year. And so I'm glad to see each and every one of you here. I think the work that we do as the bar is very important. One more point, which is always dangerous. We are the largest governing body of any state, of any bar entity, period, in the United States of America. So one of the things you do is you go to some of these things and get trained on how to be president, and you talk to other bar leaders. And when I tell them we have 150 members of our Board of Governors, they either laugh at me or their jaw hits the floor. But I think the connection that this group has had with each other is why we are able, as such a large deliberative body, able to successfully and efficiently carry out the work of the bar. And without that connection, I don't think you could have this many people participate and have a voice in the process. So I want to thank you all for making the trip. I know it's far for some and close for others, and that's kind of true for everywhere we go. So thank you. I hope you enjoy this property, you enjoy your weekend here, and I look forward to hearing what our executive director has to say.
Thank you, Ivy. Justice Warren, Justice Bethel, Justice Ellington, people from Savannah, members of the Board of Governors, members of the YLD, to those 4 gadflies in the audience, and friends. I didn't see him, but I know Justice Benson's around with us too, you're right. So I said Ellington, y'all. I got it in my notes. I know what I'm doing. Now I know how it feels, though, when you I will never do that again. I am grateful for the opportunity to provide this update on our operations and our work. I'll be brief, but there are a few items that are worth a specific mention. As a number one, I'd like to direct your attention to pages 176 to 227 of the board book. That is the combined annual report of the work accomplished during the previous bar year. This is the 3rd time that we've prepared this combined report, and it is important to consider that work. It's not only an analysis of the effectiveness of the work done, the good leadership of Tony Del Campo, but it is a good reminder of the work we do and the value we provide to our members, because before Jameis Winston even thought of it, we too have been making great plays, one great play at a time. But in all seriousness, all of the pages are as an example of the way we try to work to improve the quality of legal services. Thinking about some of the specific examples of the work we've done, we've seen success with the rollout of the refreshed website and that membership database updates. I'll tell you, neither of these processes were easy, but I can't clearly express how grateful I am to our staff for the work they carried out in both of those processes and the way that they endured the fits, the starts, the bumps, the headaches, the long nights, the hassles of the processes and the conversion. All without severe inconvenience to or even noticed by most of our membership. We remain keenly focused on incremental improvements in operational excellence, consistent with the priorities outlined in Ivy's agenda at the annual meeting. We are supporting that work, and we are looking forward to the improvements that will be made around governance and other bar rules. The exciting part is we can do more and do better. So thank you to all of our staff members and to the management team that keep these data points and other essential elements of our work top of mind. I did want to share that we've made some staff changes since our last meeting. You've heard Russ is official in his new role as General Counsel Designate. Jen is official in her new role as our Director of Governmental Affairs. Out front, you may have met Xavier, who is new in his role as Meetings Coordinator and being thrown into the mix right away. Astley is official in his new role as our Administration Support Assistant, and Matthew's official in his new role as our AV Coordinator for our Conference Center. Budget planning for 25-26 has begun. The internal part of that process is underway. Our managers have their guidance, and soon committees like Finance, Program, Personnel, and the Executive Committee will do their work. Our work on attracting tenants to the available space at 104 Marietta Street continues. We promised this would remain a key priority, and it has. We've partnered with a new broker, and they have already delivered in terms of action, innovative ideas, potential tenants, creative solutions, and individual attention. But as a final update, Ivy, I committed to providing a specific update on the use of unallocated cash at this meeting, the Martin report. You will see in your board book, we continue our trend of transparency in our financial reporting on this matter. We've provided additional and detailed data on our status and use of cash report on page 31, and providing an easier to chart graph on page 32, which shows our progress. Now, I will tell you, while it's easier to read, that chart is a funny animal, and she is very sensitive to even the slightest fluctuations. So it is better to read her in totality, because where you may see a slight uptick because of timing, you will next see a sharp decline on the next report, and as a result of when select charges have taken effect. No matter what, and going forward, we remain committed to analyzing the way we deliver our services with a focus on efficiency and strategic planning. We are making incremental and necessary improvements to our facilities. Our conference center is revitalized and adaptive in many of its capabilities. There is no shortage of attention that we're providing to our infrastructure, and our latest round of improvement focuses on mechanical, electrical, plumbing improvements, as well as space planning and overall improvements that will keep the place a welcome home for lawyers in the business of the bar. In fact, as Frank Strickland noted when he was there this week, it was probably about time for some of the improvements. And some of those specific charges include our improvements in technology and conference abilities to all of the rooms on the third floor. We invested a little over $170,000 in those improvements. The most significant investment was the website work we mentioned a year and a half ago. And as that launch was at the end of August, we will see those charges on the next report, but that is roughly a $400,000 investment. We made significant improvements on our sixth floor, connected with Georgia Casa as a new tenant, including commissions and flooring and paint to the entire floor as we solicit new tenants. That build out, which will slightly recoup over the term of the lease, those improvements and commission payments amount to a roughly $325,000 investment. Early in the process, we updated our building management system and digital controls. That investment in our operating systems was $120,000. We made upgrades to our membership database, fast-tracking those improvements as we continue to keep an eye on security and service, and that was a $100,000 investment. We fast-tracked the work on our electrical panels, initially set for 24-25, in order to go ahead and get parts and make sure that we have the available labor. And right now, that's been an investment of $92,000, with work continuing throughout the building for the rest of the calendar year and into 2025. Costs associated with a potential lease and exploring opportunities for the fifth floor were about $27,000. And then there have been other improvements, including comfort, convenience, and safety improvements to the parking deck, similar improvements in our break room, as well as accessibility and efficiency improvements to our entrance at 104 Marietta Street. A change for which I did not initially see the vision, but I am a fan of the way that that turned out and the way that you can enter the building in the main entrance. So all told, we've seen about a $1.257379 investment in the bar center or general operations through June 30th. We are prudent and methodical in our recommendations related to the use of unallocated cash. We understand the interest to make these investments and to speed some of them up, and our long-range planning that we've presented to Ivy and will continue to present to the executive committee shows a place to do that. But we will not be careless, or whatever the right legal term is, dumb in the work that we're doing. Understanding the trust that's been placed on us with these member resources, and knowing that many things can happen, and particularly if we need to make sure that we have resources for litigation, because lawyers will lawyer. We've highlighted the similar plans for 24-25 with the executive committee, and we're continuing to revise many of those plans. At the mid-year, we'll provide a detailed report on that, but I can tell you that initial work has been related to flooring throughout the building, continued work on those electrical panels. Think a breaker box for a building that was built in the 60s and has roughly 400,000 square feet, and tenant improvements for the Georgia Bar Foundation. But until that, I want to thank Ron and Paula and Sarah and Steve Hallstrom, who's our building engineer, who's going to retire in January. And many of you may not know Steve. He's technically an employee of Cushman. But Steve has been with us since the beginning of our time at the State Bar at 104 Marietta Street, and he has been integral in keeping that building operating, and we will miss him. There is a plan in place to replace him, and we are going to start to talk to the new replacement as soon as we get back next week, but he will be a big loss. And Russ has also been involved in their input and support in planning and execution for that work. We recognize the benefit of these funds and making these necessary and operational improvements without a burden on member dues right now. So we wanted to be clearer and give you that update there. So that's really all I have unless there are questions. And I should mention this report was prepared without the aid of any artificial intelligence. Allegedly, no, for sure. But while you're thinking about questions or approaching the mic, I do have a point of personal privilege. I wanted to give Ivy kudos on his leadership, and that is not just because he's president, but Ivy has been thoughtful in his planning and collaboration throughout the year. When Hurricane Helene started, the court was kind to involve, and Ivy jumped to the call and was really thinking about lawyers generally and lawyers in that area, and he was very responsive there. And in some points, he's even faced some criticism and had to endure that, but he's been responsive and accountable for some of that work. So I did want to make sure that you all knew that you're in really good hands there. Now, questions? Thank you.
Speaking of mistakes, I don't know how on earth I have an orange board book for this football, or for this meeting. But win some, you lose some. Bless. Always orange. Oh, well, we don't always have to do things because that's how we've always done them. All right. Next, we will have a review of proposed bylaws amendments by Bill Neesmith. The bill is just going to briefly tell you what these are. They're in your board book. These are part of the work that the executive committee has done. These are ones that we think are ready for your consideration. They're being shown to you today so that you're aware of them. They can't be voted on until the mid-year meeting, I believe. Bill will tell us more about that. So, but they're not an action item, but they're there for information so that you can read them. We can have dialogue on them between now and when we vote, so we know better not whether or not they'll be successful. Not an action item. But Bill, if you could tell us about the substance, that'd be great.
Sure. If you look on page 141, there is an executive summary of the changes that are going to be proposed, and most of these are just sort of housekeeping. Like Article 1 was this big freight train of a paragraph that just was so jumbled, and so what we did was split it up so it was easier to read and easier to maneuver. And we also added a 1.5 mandatory assessment for members admitted by motion, and that's on page 143. It just clears it up that if you're admitted by motion, you start paying assessments immediately. The second one, which is active members and foreign law consultants, that one is on page 146 and 7. And what we did there is we just changed it where it just says only active members of the State Bar, and we put of Georgia in good standing. And then to put the enabling bar rule for foreign law consultants, because it just, if you were looking at it, you wouldn't have known where do they get this ability. And of course, the ability to practice law is regulated by the Supreme Court. So we wanted to make sure that that enabling rule was there. And then on Article 1, members, affiliate members, and law student members, the purpose of this is just to make sure that our bylaw matches the State Bar rule. The State Bar rule does not, what the bylaw does is it just says if you want to be a student member of the State Bar of Georgia, you have to be a member of an ABA accredited law school in Georgia. This takes the in Georgia part out and allows somebody who is a member of a school in a location other than Georgia, like for instance, if somebody is a member of a goes to law school in say Tennessee, then they can still be a they can still be a student member here in Georgia. And that's really about all this is. These are just mostly housekeeping, cleanup things to make our rules, our bylaws a little more understandable. And I'll answer any questions if anybody has any. And thank you for that. All right.
please do read those. Those will be an action item, and again, we can't vote on those like in the spring meeting. If you don't like them in the fall, we have to hold them until the annual. So these are a result of just a general call to our OGC office to say, hey, what's out there that we need to pay attention to? And so they came up with a long list of things, and that's what the executive committee has been dealing with. And these are just the ones that we've gotten to a place where the executive committee thinks that they are ready for your consideration. Next, and our near final item is the Chief Justice's, our final report in person anyway, is Carlise Greer's report on the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. Carlise.
Thank you. Good morning. How's everyone today? I want to start and just take a moment to talk about solace and follow up on Judge Hurd's presentation. He did not mention to you, being a little bit humble, but we have also collected as a Solace Committee supplies and materials for South Georgia, but we've had a little bit of trouble deploying them, and that was a learning point for us. But Judge Hurd opened up his office so that bar members could ship items to his office, as well as we got permission from Damon and the executive committee to have items shipped to Tifton, to the Tifton office, and LaCar Reddick has been instrumental in helping with that. I didn't realize until last night, I overheard Justice Ellington talking. He was without power for 18 days. And so we've learned on the back end, you know, after an area is affected by a storm, you may have trouble reaching people because they don't have power, they don't have internet, they don't have access to their phones. But I wanted to let you all know that Judge Hurd has been instrumental in trying to help his neighbors in South Georgia, and we do have material and supplies available for attorneys in South Georgia. So to the extent that you have contacts, colleagues in that area, let them know that we have not forgotten about them. All right, now on to the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. These are many of our members from our 24-25 commission, and I want to thank them all for their service. We are, of course, chaired by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Michael Boggs, and I cannot thank him enough for his support of work on professionalism. Currently, nominations for the 25th, this is a milestone year, Justice Robert Benham Awards for Community Service are open, and nominations will end on Veterans Day, November 11th. Some of the courts will be closed because of the holiday, so you'll have that day to help polish up your nominations, your 2 letters of support. But if you know lawyers that are active and involved in helping to better their community, please consider nominating them. And you'll find this information on page 160 of your orange board book, okay? General service to the bar does not apply, so Ivy, simply because he's state bar president, couldn't win the award for that way, but he's done, you know, many other things, and I'm using Ivy as an example. But if you're involved in youth athletics, mentoring, literacy, social services, faith-based activities, community development, education, sports and recreation, promotion and support for pro bono or low bono, those are all things that may help qualify attorneys and judges for an award. You do not have to be a lawyer or judge to nominate someone, so please share this information also with others in your community. QR code, you'll find that again on page 60. the Georgia Legal History Foundation is again partnering with us for fundraising. They are getting ready for a program in Valdosta. I'm happy that CLE in Valdosta will still take place next week on November 7th and 8th, and after that, they are going to make information about Benham Award sponsorship available. Next, I want to transition to some of the work being done by the by the State Bar of Georgia Committee on Professionalism. We have two different groups, the Chief Justice's Commission, but we also have a State Bar of Georgia Committee on Professionalism. On October 25th, we had our Speakers and Writers Bureau CLE presentation. Kevin, are you in the room? Kevin Patrick? Stand up for me. So Kevin Patrick, along with Mike Perez, is the chair of this subcommittee, and we've already started talking about 2025 and what CLE programming may look like. Talk to Kevin if you have suggestions or ideas for 2025. Our free-to-attend virtual webinars, some of them are organized by the State Bar Committee. So thank you, Kevin. I want folks to know who you are, and thank you for your service. We've had our law school orientations. Those took place in August. We had 162 total group leaders. Some of them participated more than once. Judge Christopher McFadden from the Court of Appeals actually participated at 3 schools, and we had another 18 that served at 2 schools. But you'll see the photos from all of the different schools, and I want to thank all of these 100+ folks that help educate future lawyers about professionalism in Georgia. Law Day 2024. Our theme last year, admittedly, was a little bit challenging, Voices of Democracy for a Mandatory Bar, but we had lots of folks to participate. And this gives me a chance to thank them. These are folks from the 8th Judicial District. Marlon Eller helped to coordinate activities in his judicial districts. These are some of the photos. Judge McCamey, Alcovey Judicial Circuit, their circuit got together for Law Day activities, and these are some of the photos from the events that they did for Law Day. Savannah. Savannah also had several Law Day activities. These are pictures from Savannah, and then the 4th and 5th Judicial District. The Fulton County Juvenile Court put together a reading program at Dunbar Elementary School. I did not know that the Cat in the Hat had written a book about voting, but we went to read to some of the children, and then Judge Kimberly Alexander in DeKalb did a Law Day program there. So I thank everybody who participated in 2024. Our theme, or the ABA theme, which is what we use for Law Day, and it's a joint effort of the State Bar Committee on Professionalism and the Local and Voluntary Bars Association. We work together and partner for Law Day. The theme for 2025 is the Constitution's promise out of many one. I guess as most of the judges in the room, you've already set your calendars for 2025. And so the reason we're talking about this now, you'll hear me talk about it in January, is I'm asking you now to be intentional. Look at your May calendar. If you're a trial attorney, you probably already have dates on your calendar for May. If you're a judge, you probably have your civil and criminal calendar set. Look for a date in May 2025. Think of some place where you can talk to your community about our Constitution and what it means, and join us and partner with us in Law Day. Here's a QR code for you to do that. Connect with a colleague. We ran a contest last year, and again, I'm asking you to be intentional about making your plans early. We will do it again in April 2025. These are our contest winners. I want to thank Kevin Patrick again, who donated one of our prizes, and Kathy Hampton, who donated another prize. In addition, using non-mandatory bar dues money that the Speakers and Writers Bureau raised from a CLE that we charged $25 for, we were able to develop cash prizes to go along with those, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. We already have our first prize for 2025, and you all get to be the first to know about it, but I'm asking you to share this with your communities. So Jeff Smith, who was actually our Lifetime Achievement Award winner for the Benham Community Service Awards last year, almost as soon as he got the award, maybe even before, said, what can I do to help? And Kathy Hampton, one of our State Bar of Georgia committee members, talked to him about our Connect with a Colleague contest. So our first prize, I hope we'll have some others. I hope Kathy will be able to generate some others. Any basketball fans in the room? Pro basketball? No? Okay. So you all can tell your colleagues about the prize. First row, courtside seats, 1 seat from the mid-court line on the club side for a Hawks game. Parking is included in the Hawks players parking lot. The game is going to be Jeff's choice, and again, thank you to Kathy for soliciting this prize. What do? You connect with a colleague. If you are a litigator, someone on the other side of the V. If you do deals, someone opposite you on transactions. But take a colleague to lunch or coffee, somebody that, maybe you had a hard-fought deal with, hard-fought case, wouldn't normally connect with. Sit down and get to know them as a person. And the reason for this is so that when we as lawyers work together better, get along better, we get better results for our clients, better results for the court system. It helps us to fulfill our mission to serve the public. And so it's not just for fun, it is to help us continue to deliver on our mission to serve the public. I also want to thank the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism for supporting this contest. In September, and you have information about this in your board book, the commission hosted a program on representing individuals with diminished capacity. We generated a small surplus from that CLE. This was one of our paid CLEs. We do a combination of free and pay of $1,650. And this will allow us to use money for non-mandatory dues to fund the cash prizes. Why the cash prize? This is not an Atlanta contest. So if you don't live in Atlanta, but you want a chance to win Hawks tickets and park in the Players parking lot, but you live in Decatur County, Georgia, you're not going to have to come out of pocket to get to Atlanta to get a hotel room. That's really the reason that we have a monetary piece in this. This is a statewide contest. We are a statewide bar, non-mandatory bar dues to help us connect and remain in community. And so I want to thank everybody who helps make all this programming possible. Last but not least, in December, we will have a free CLE organized by the commission. Look for information in early December. Lawyer as witness in criminal law cases, looking at when a lawyer has to testify regarding matters of ineffective assistance of counsel or Brady claims. So look for that information in December. Thank you all for your time and attention. Have fun at the game.
Thank you, Carlise. We appreciate your work and the work of everybody on the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. It's good stuff, and I get to be more of a part of that as president. Next, I want to call your attention to the written reports that are in your board book. Speaking of the AI committee, you gotta love it when your iPad freezes up and you still have to go back to the paper. All right, written reports. We got the executive committee meeting minutes. You can see what we've been up to. The State Bar Georgia's annual report, the Office of General Counsel report, the ICLE report, Law Practice Management report, and the media report. And is there any old business that we need to consider? Hearing none, is there any new business that we need to consider? Recognizing the point at which we are in the proceeding, I tentatively call, are there any announcements? I actually have one. Okay. I like that hustle.
Really quick. I know that I was waiting on that bus. Anybody that's making it back to Atlanta tomorrow, the Out of Darkness Walk is tomorrow at 1:30 Piedmont Park. We would really love for the Wellness Committee, Suicide Awareness and Prevention, and all the other wellness committees, would like for your support to come on out and join us in that Out of Darkness Walk to help suicide awareness and prevention. And if you can't, the State Bar has a team and you can donate. So I just want to let you know that. Bye.
Thank you, Javon. We appreciate all your work with wellness. Is there any reason to go into executive session? All right, hearing none, I'd like to call Justices Bethel and Justice Ellington down to the front for, what? What did I miss? Oh, somebody, no. All right, for a special presentation. Y'all come on.
Y'all ready? Come on up here. Let's call the damn dogs. Who's that coming down the track?
Who's that coming down the track?
It's a mean machine in red and black.
It's the mean machine in red and black.
Ain't nothing finer in the land
Ain't nothing finer in the land
than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan.
than drunk, obnoxious Georgia fans.
Go dogs! Go dogs! Go dogs! Second! Roof, 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 roof!
And with that, we are adjourned.